Has everything been on here? Okay.
So with that, Connie, come up for our invitation and our pledge. Thank you very much, President Aaron. Glad to be here with you guys today. Thank you all for braving the rain, coming out and being part of our Rotary meeting. Bow your heads and give an invocation. And then after that, we'll give our pledge of allegiance. If you are former military, we invite you to stand and salute for you before your hand over your heart with the pledge. Father, thank you for gathering us here today. Thank you for the opportunity that no matter what the weather, we can impact our community and change the world around us, that we can create a better place that we all wish for. We thank you for the inspirations and the hearts of the folks that are here in order to come out and give a contribution to something like Rotary. We also thank you for all the people here who serve us week in and week out, put great food on the table for us, clear our plates and taking care of us during the meeting. We are blessed beyond measure, thankful to be here today. Amen. Will you please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, may be seated. Well, we welcome our guests who are here today. I think I spotted a few folks. If you are a guest here, please raise your hand. Either a visiting Rotarian or just a guest who's not a Rotarian. Anybody here who is a guest? Ah, there you are. That's why you're here. Yes. Please share a little difference.
Hello, my name is Carrie. I've been a Raleigh resident for 40 years. I went to dental school in Chapel Hill, yay or nay, and went to Greenville and ECU and did a general residency. So I got to be familiar with a lot of people with aging and declining health. Over the years, my health declined with arthritis, and I had to retire. In that process, I started to be a yoga student with a general yoga teacher in town, in the village area of Raleigh. At that time, as I was failing, I came up with an idea of what could be helpful for failing men boomers. Who is an older men boomer? You qualify. Who feels they're failing just a little bit in something in their body and mind? Well, good for you. If you're not. So in this process, I took it upon my mission to create opportunities for the public to have free, accessible, gentle yoga, and also chair-based yoga. Yoga that is on a chair or with a chair. Yoga is not a religion, it could be a life science or a practice. And in bringing it to the public, we remove the barriers of access by not charging. We have sponsors and partners that pay our teachers and our organization. We go to the public in the library, in the Parks and Rec, Ellen Wright Center, Meals on Wheels, and more. With that, we are looking for moral support in the terms of building relationships with businesses that might want to sponsor our endeavors, but also with insurers and health providers that are looking to enhance the well-being of their patients and constituents. Some of that has evolved in the last year to 2 years with Blue Cross Blue Shield, where we have 3 classes across the state and a 4th one starting next year in Greenville. And then in Southeast Raleigh, with WellCare, where we have a free class in one of their clinics. We also partner with Alliance Medical Ministry, who is a stalwart of health for the working uninsured. And we've been with Alliance for 13 years. So it speaks to some of the success that we are able to sustain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, well, and I'm sure you'll be happy for this week, folks have the meeting. Okay, so we have several announcements, so if Jean-Luc would come up, and Patty, and Richard, and let's see, that's right. We'll start with Jean-Luc on our membership.
Come up here. Today, we have a second meeting for Manny Marshall, who, again, as a reminder, is sponsored by Patty. Manny works for the North Carolina Association of Educators as a narrative and content strategy, and as a reminder, we're up in Chapel Hill. Now, Manny says, I'm sorry. Oh, I made a mistake. She wrote it in Huntington County. Now, I do ask all of our Rotary members why is it that I choose Rotary? So today, we asked you why you're
I choose Rotary because I was raised for art service. My dad was a social worker growing up, and my mom was a compassionate mom. So I was always taught to serve others and what we do for others while bettering ourselves. In fact, when I was in high school, I was an club member, and I got the Rotary scholarship to graduate from high school. So it's important to serve others to me while bettering myself and helping them.
Thank you so much, Maggie. And we definitely look forward to having you as a member of our club. If you guys still haven't had a chance to get together with Maggie, definitely for you to, and we're definitely lucky to have her as a member of our club next Monday. And then last thing, we have Service Social this month. This can be here at Tobacco Road. Next month, I do just want to announce that we're going to be having it at North State Bank at Harrison's new campus that they opened up there. So really excited to have this company allow us to do that, and we'll definitely look forward to, of course, having you guys here this month, but coming out to Harrison's place of business to show us around, learn more about that. And if you guys last thing are interested in becoming a mentor, again, please reach out to me, come up to me. We'd love to have all of you experienced members of the club after the new folks create a small foundation here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. And we're very excited to have Matt join us here in a very short period of time. So Patty Rudy, her sponsor, is here to make announcements. Most of you know Patty is our foundation chair for our club, but he's also the district foundation chair and serves sort of in an unofficial role of connecting us to the district. So he has some district information for today, and really,
Thank you, President. I've been a Rotarian for about 20 years now, and I learn every day that there are things that I need to learn about Rotary. And so if you think the same thing, that Rotary is something which we grow on a regular basis, it's an opportunity for you to consider being part of the learning opportunity that's being provided by the district. It's our district assembly. It's going to take place this coming Saturday morning, 9 until noon. It's an opportunity to learn about membership. It's an opportunity to learn about innovative clubs. It's an opportunity to gather new ideas and talk about your colleagues or other clubs. And it's an opportunity, particularly from my own perspective, to learn more about the foundation, hear the reports of what's happening in our district and around the world. So we do hope you'll consider, it's going to be held at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church on Fremont Road. How could you not have fun in a Lutheran church, basically? So show up on Sunday morning, show up Sunday morning too, show up Saturday morning, 9 until noon. And the best part is, it's only $5. It's only $5. The supplies that will be provided for you. So it's not a lot of money, and it's not a lot of time. We'll be done by noon, unless you wish to stick around and I'll clean up afterwards, but we'll be done by noon. So 9 to noon this Saturday morning. If you're interested in signing up, go to DAC.TV, sign in to the district, and you can register online there. I hope we'll do that and consider an opportunity. Look forward to having all of those again who are interested in learning more and more about Rotary every day. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Patty. And if you're not comfortable with technology, you've got the Linda, she can help you get signed up. If you're relatively new to Rotary, this is a great opportunity to learn a whole lot more in a short period of time. So, and if you're experienced in Rotary, that way to catch up on what's going on. This is the Rotary we also went through years ago. So it's a growing and evolving organization. So for our service update, Rick.
Thank you, President Eric. Hey, folks, reminder, our service project is the 28th. That's not this Saturday, but next Saturday. There's a sign up link that put out. We have 20 slots, so we've only got 4 filled. So I need some help, folks. So I'm in development, and my team is treating this like this is a project, so short-term goals. So let's have a short-term goal by Friday, having 8 signed up. On Monday, having 12, and by next Friday, we'll have the entire slot filled. So please invite your family and friends, invite your coworkers, use this as an opportunity to introduce folks in your network to Rotary. I would appreciate Michael and Sarah and Amy for signing up as well. Michael asked a great question. Do you need to bring the tools? Not. You just need to bring your time. So please join us on the 28th from 10 to 1. It's a great event. It's very impactful. It's right in our backyard. And ask me or Linda if you need to sign up. And thank you for your support.
And thank you, Richard. Richard does a great job. About the Rotary service, obviously. So on your table are the red buckets for the Village Alliance of North Carolina. If you have some spare change or holding money, drop that in there. That would go to that organization that we support tremendously. And so Charlie is not here, Frank is not here, Kirk is not here. So I won't even try to imitate any of them for happy dollars, but I want to give everybody a chance if they have any happy dollars. We're in the Wolfpack fans. We actually pulled one out this time. So any happy dollars, good events that happened this week. Anyone want to celebrate or notice anything? I'll put in $1 later for Charles King being with us, coming down from the mountains to join us today. So that's great. I'm glad to be here.
We're going to stay. NC State didn't embarrass us too bad.
Yeah, NC State, very good. Finally a win after big embarrassment. Any other happy dollars? Do I see any? Okay, let's move on then. So the birthday, or excuse me, the raffle ticket. I always skip on the raffle. Maybe if I want to take it, I see more.
You said it. Very good. All right, guys, we've got some raffle money here. If you bought the ticket today, you have a pretty decent chance of winning. There's not tons of tickets in here, but we do have a decent pot. So hang tight with me here. All right. We have 800-3387. There we go, Mr. Mike Brennan.
Thank you, Mike, for everybody that participates in this each week. They share that funds, the people share, it goes to the club and to our projects here. So that's important. So coming up, birthdays and anniversary, Tom Hackler, I saw. There you go. Happy birthday on the 18th. Anniversaries, Bill and Vicki Moore. I saw Bill. Happy anniversary. And
44.
I wondered, 20 years.
5 years ago, we did the same thing. I looked at Star and I said, I'll be 100.
Yeah, so Bill is 44 years old, and he's been married for 20 years. Well, how about that? That'll be good. And then Tom and Jill Holder. See Tom Holder. There he is, Tom. Congratulations. Coming up on the 18th. 18th is this day for those. Our upcoming meetings. Well, as you probably heard, or you will hear in a moment, Tony Rice was supposed to be here for NASA, came down sick this morning and sent me an email. And so that's a little disappointing, but we got better back. And so I'm going to say he's going to get space sickness, but I don't know if he will be rescheduled for the next opportunity. And then on the 23rd, We will have Scott Rawls, the president of Wake Tech, a very significant educational institution in the area, so we're really looking forward to having Dr. Rawls here. And then on the 30th, we're going to have Coach Alex Surge Hall up there. He's the head of recruiting for NC State University. And he's not going to just sit there and cheer Wolfpack stuff. He's going to talk about what it's like to be recruiting during the transfer portal era, during the NIL era. It's really a very complicated situation. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what Coach has to say about that. So those are our upcoming programs for the next little while. So as I mentioned, we had Tony Rice, our NASA ambassador, was to be here, but we have a guest speaker that has stepped up very quickly to speak for us. And she told me to not make any introduction, but I'll keep it very short. Carrie Suffern is going to be our speaker today. She is a meteorologist. She's also been president of the club for the last year. So I'm thinking in an introduction, rather than talking about everything you already know about her, just a few things that you might not know. She is a native of Raleigh and one of those fairly unique people. She went to NC State. While she was an intern at NC State, she worked with the SBI's private jet and worked with NASA on the Mars mission about how electrostatic discharges affect spacecraft when they're heading to Mars to do dust storms. She was with National Weather Service in Juneau, Alaska, and Sterling, Virginia, and briefed both the crab vessel captains in Alaska, as well as the pilots of Air Force One, mentioned in the DC area. She said the crab people were a whole lot nicer than the Air Force One pilots. And she is a certified consulting meteorologist, one of only 250 in the world. And she's a partner in a consulting meteorology company. The last two things you might not know about her is that she is a championship horse rider, in the ribbons, championship ribbons to cover a wall. And she also travels extensively. She's been to Scotland, England, to Spain, France, Australia, New Zealand, and I'm skipping a few more. And you can see why whenever I introduce her, I say she's my hero. So please welcome Carrie Suffern.
Thank you, Dad. I wasn't too embarrassing. I said you could roast me, but just don't embarrass. That wouldn't do that. You didn't mention for the Air Force One, Spring Baby, I almost launched a weather movement to Air Force One, so that would have been pretty much in my career. Different, longer story, and I'd be happy to share that at some point. I'm gonna stand up here so I can see the screen better. So Dad told me this morning and said, hey, Tony Rice canceled, and I, like you all, very disappointed in that. Was very much looking forward to hearing about his involvement, thank you, in Spain and NASA, and sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, Deep Space Network. So I would like to be able to visit or come back at some point. So we're not going to go look up today as far as space, but we're going to look up into the sky a little bit. And we're going to start by talking about some of the big weather events that we've had in the Raleigh area. Then we're going to talk about 5 common weather myths, and this is going to be audience participation portion of the presentation. I'm curious to see which of those myths you think are true and which are false. And then we're going to talk a little bit about consultant meteorology. I tell people I'm a consultant meteorologist, and it's just not a field that's that widely, there's not that many of us out there. I'm very grateful to be one and work with the 2 gentlemen on the screen up there, T.C. Moore and Steve Harnett, at Atlantic States Weather Consulting. And again, I'll mention what that is in the presentation and have a few examples of the work that we do. So, by a show of hands, how many of you all are from North Carolina? Okay, about 50%. So there's a good amount that are not from North Carolina. How many of y'all are from states that are north? Or from, northwest, might get a little bit more snow. If you are newer to the area and you have not experienced North Carolina snowstorm, I know you guys don't want to drive in it, and I'm from here, so I can say this. You don't want to get on the roads with us. So just stay home. Even if you say it's 1 inch, just stay home. A lot of people don't realize that we do get things here like forest fires in the mountains. We do get forest fires. I think there's actually one on the Outer Banks. It's a peat fire that's under the ground and that's been going on for years and years. We get pretty much everything, flash flooding, floods, which we're under a flood watch right now, and a wind advisory later today. And of course, snow events, and even just a little bit of snow wreaks havoc. So what I'd love to do is go through some of the big events that we've had. Who was here in North Carolina in 2000? Okay, do y'all remember the 2 feet of snow that we had? Oh, yeah. That was probably, I think I was a sophomore in high school, and that was one of the events that made me want to be a meteorologist. I remember waking up that morning and wanting to go to school or something, or getting ready to go to school, and Dad says, oh no, there's 2 feet of snow on the ground. I said, no, there's not. And I jumped out of bed, went outside, and sure enough, walked out, and I was up to my knees in snow. And that was a bizarre event. I think you and I, Dad, we got into, we had a Jeep Grand Cherokee, we went out on the roads just because we had to. And it was, we live on a country road, and the middle of it, both tires sat like up, what do you call it, the middle of the snowpack. And it was so high at some points that the little Jeep was going sideways. So crazy event. I was out of school for 2 weeks, which we didn't complain about. My brother didn't complain about. And on the map up there, that purple, it's kind of hard to see the numbers. The purple swath is the highest snow amounts, and that ranged from 1 to 2 feet of snow. And you can see how isolated that is. This was kind of a once in a lifetime thing for Central North Carolina. Some of the more common events we get are Imperials and Vegas. That was one of the memes that got made from a 2015 snow event, where I think it was right at rush hour, and the warnings didn't go out until maybe about an hour or so before. So all the snow fell, about 1 to 4 inches of snow fell right as people were trying to get home. And it was just gridlock, people were abandoning their cars. The fire in that picture is real. And that's a pretty, widely circulated photo. I think the Michelin Man is in one. This is another example of a snow event, I think a few years later, not as much as the one in the previous photo. Same type of thing, just a few inches of snow and then causes quick lock. I remember one in college, this would be in the mid-2000s, same kind of thing. My brother and I were on the road for 12 hours trying to get home from school. Spring, we get thunderstorms here. And a lot of times if you see a whole bunch of trees down, here's a aerial image showing trees. And this is from our farm up in Northeast Wake County. And this was a microburst. This wasn't even a tornado. And you can tell that by the damage. All the trees are kind of laying in one direction. So showing this to indicate or to demonstrate that microburst, when you see those severe storm warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings for winds, they can be just as damaging as a small scale tornado. And you can get entire forests knocked down. Other things that happen in the spring, and of course, through our fall here in North Carolina, is torrential downpour. This was 5 years ago, and we got up in Northeast Wake County, I think, about 12 inches of rain in a period of hours. It was just a significant amount of rain, washed out part of 401, you can see in that picture. And that was just one case where you never want to drive across a flooded roadway. You don't know what's underneath it. Rip currents, of course, if you're at the beach, look out for rip currents. Heat is actually the #1 weather killer across the United States. So in the summer, especially here in the heat and humidity, definitely be aware of the forecast when you plan to go out. Okay, here's another big one. Probably the first major weather event, no, not the first major weather event that I remember very well. Hurricane Fran. Who was here during Hurricane Fran? Yeah, a good amount of people. That was a pretty wild event, very, very unique for our area. Fran was actually Category 2 hurricane, and the eye of that storm crossed right over Central North Carolina. There were some places that were out of power for weeks and weeks. I think a lot of downtown Raleigh, the beautiful big oak trees, I think a lot of downtown was out of power for weeks. That was a very devastating storm. And then a few years after that, we had Floyd, which really devastated Eastern North Carolina. I mean, pretty much all of Eastern North Carolina was under water. So this time of year, as we're having today, we do get these coastal systems that move in, they bring rain, they bring wind, and when you combine those two, you do have potential for damage, frequency, and power outages. All right. One more, this is kind of fuzzy, so I'm going to show these pictures. Back in 1988, the EF4 tornado. How many people here remember that? Yeah, and I was 5 years old, so all I remember is a tremendous thunderstorm with a ton of lightning. And the next day hearing that the Walmart or the Kmart downtown had just been completely demolished. Those are some pictures from the coverage the next day, and that again is a very rare event for our area to have the EF4 tornado. That's called the enhanced Kushida scale. And that's how they rate tornadoes in terms of their damage, and then they correlate that damage with one speed. The highest that you can get is a 5. So 4s are very, very rare here. We do get, especially when we get tropical system, some little spin up tornadoes, and those can be either 0s, 1s, and 2s, and 3s. And those are very as capable of creating damage. A 4 will completely wipe your house off of its foundation. And keep rubble alive, what it'll do is take rubble away. All you'll be left with is the bare foundation. Here's that Walmart or Kmart, or forget what it was, but that's just gone. It doesn't look like it blew up. All right, so something that I always like to talk about in weather presentations are outlooks, watches, and warnings. And I know you all know this already, but I like to think about the silly little National Weather Products, NWS products, and cupcake terms. So 3 to 7 days before an event, when you see an outlook, what that means is you're thinking about making a cupcake, maybe later on this week. So when you see the word watch come out, that means that's 24 to 48 hours before an event. Like yesterday, we had a flood watch issued, and then this morning it switched over to flood warning. Or a little later today, I'm sorry, it's not switched to a flood warning yet. But a watch means that you've gathered your ingredients, you've gone to the store, gathered everything, you have it sitting on your kitchen counter. When you see the word warning, that means that the cupcakes are in the oven, don't go anywhere. That the weather is currently happening, stay where you are until the weather has passed. So I like to say that. But we've all heard some silly weather myths throughout the years, saying, okay, well, it's great, we have these, fancy weather models now, but what about these little sayings? And I'm going to show 5 of them, and I want y'all to tell me if you think they're true or false. So the first one we're going to talk about, it's raining, and there's clear skies above, I'm going to say lightning. Second one is river, hills, mountains, and lakes can protect you from tornadoes. Third is the groundhog's shadow can tell us about the winter or spring. Fourth is thunderstorms in the winter, then it'll snow within 7 to 10 days. David Forrest mentioned that this morning. And then the last one was this nice round, red sky in the morning, sailors take warning, red sky at night, sailors delight. So very first one, if it's not raining and there are clear skies above, are you safe from lightning, yes or no? Oh, yeah. Y'all know that one already. Lightning can, of course, strike anywhere. So that's why you have the old adage, when thunder and doors go indoors. Can actually strike 10 to 50 miles away from where a storm is happening. It's a really little picture to your right on that screen. It shows the charges of a cloud. What happens is the charges, positives build up at the top of the cloud, negatives at the bottom. And then that causes the reverse to happen on the ground. You get either positives going underneath where the negatives are, and then negatives underneath where the positives are. Those positive cloud strikes, that means it's coming from the positive portion of the cloud, are a lot stronger than the negative portion. So if they're even if it's clear and lightning's going to hit, if it's a lightning strike from that positive portion of the cloud, it's going to be more damaging and dangerous. All right, second one, rivers, hills, mountains, and lakes can protect you from tornadoes. Yay or nay? No? Okay. Correct. On the map is the Appalachian Mountains, and there's little tornado tracks all over the place. And these are some tornado reports from out in Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming at pretty high elevations. And some of those you see an F3, F4 tornadoes, and those are back in 93 and 87. But if there's a thunderstorm and there's enough wind shear, you could get a tornado. Okay, everybody's favorite groundhog's day. Can a groundhog's shadow tell us about winter or spring? Yes or no? No? Yes. Yes. No. No. Pennsylvania. I know. Unfortunately, according to the study by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, they looked at those predictions since 1887, and there were and how much he predicted. He was only right 30% of the time. Oh, in the past 10 years, he has been right 30% of the time. So maybe keep on watching. I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit, but statistically wise, doesn't look like it has much of an accurate prediction. All right. Thunderstorms in winter, then it'll snow within 7 to 10 days. What do y'all think about that? Yes? Yeah? It's actually no. And I'll explain why. The North Carolina, I think I have this, yep. The North Carolina State Climate Office shows since the 1940s, only 13% of the time this is true. And that's because in North Carolina, you get what is on the screen, you get a cold front, moves through the area, pushes some thunderstorms across the region. We'll hear thunder, because when a cold front moves through, what it's doing is we have a warm, humid air mass, and then the colder, drier air pushes that away. So we're left with colder air. A lot of times that's drier. So you need precipitation, obviously, for snow. And if we do have a precipitation, what it comes in the form of sometimes is the hot or humid air from the ocean. So it's going to moderate those cold temperatures. This is called cold air damming. In this picture on the screen, if you can imagine a low pressure system off the coast of South Carolina and North Carolina, that's pulling in warmer air from the south and the east into our region. So we need, it's a kind of a delicate balance here in North Carolina where we get enough dry air and we do get that moisture. Sometimes in these cold air damming situations we can, it just has to be enough cold air in place for it. So only 13% of the time, but it's a fun thing to say. All right, red sky in the morning, sailors take warning. Red sky at night, sailors delight. What do y'all think about this?
Yes.
Yeah? You don't know all these already. So that's because weather in the mid-latitudes usually moves west to east. So if you're out at sea, let's say the Atlantic Ocean, and you're on a boat, and you look up at the sunrise in the morning, and you are looking towards the sunrise, and you're looking towards a cloud, what's going to happen is it's going to scatter light back, and it'll be filtered through a bunch of particles, and you're going to see mostly red. In the evening, if you're seeing the same thing and you're looking east and the sun's setting, the sun's behind you, looking towards the clouds that are now moving away from you, and you are again seeing that red scattered light. So there is truth to that, and that has been something that obviously navigators have used for a long, long time. All right, how am I doing? Very good. Okay. The weather industry. Last year, we had somebody come from the National Weather Service, Jonathan Place, and he's the meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service. There are 122 offices across the nation, plus special centers like the National Hurricane Center, Storm Weather Prediction Center, and they put out the forecast, watches and warnings for the whole nation. So any watch or warning advisory that you hear is from our federal government, from the National Weather Service. And that's because their goal is to protect life and property and our commercial interests of the nation. Broadcast meteorologist is another common field, and we've had Elizabeth Gardner here a few times. I think there's been other broadcast meteorologists that have come through. And their goal and their main job is to take the things that the National Weather Service is issuing, plus add in their specific knowledge of where their market is and spread that to the public. They're kind of the face of meteorology. Then, of course, we have military. Military, due to privacy, secrecy, and the need to keep some operations not widely dispersed, has their own set of meteorologists. I know for a fact, the US Air Force does, the Navy does. Do we have any Army people in here? Right now, Kirk would know. Oh, do you know if the Army has meteorologists? They probably, yeah. So, I don't think Marines do. I think they use Navy, Coast Guard does, of course. And then you have the private sector, which is mainly focused around data, giving data out to broadcast, sending it out to people that make apps. So for Weather Underground, the weather company, which I think the broadcast portion is now its own. I'm not sure if IBM still owns the weather company. WeatherStim, they send out observational sites, these big towers that you can put up. And then it networks in all of those observations and then feeds them out. And then there's a small portion of meteorologists that do this thing called forensic meteorology. Apologize, it's not showing up right there. And that's also in the private sector. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about what consultant or forensic meteorologists do. Meteorology is not a, blanking on the word, where to say, it's not a, like a professional engineer, you have to be licensed. So it's not a field where you get licensed. It doesn't have a kind of an overarching board where you have to be licensed as a key in certain states, or you have to go through a board exam to be a lawyer, or different licensures to be a doctor. So what's happened is the American Meteorological Society, which is a nonprofit organization comprised of professional meteorologists and students across mostly America, but across the world, has come up with a program to certify consultant meteorologists. And that's called, they have one for broadcast meteorologists, one for consulting, and one for educators that you can do. So the CCM is kind of goofed up formatting. But the CCM program is the only organized program in the United States that declares meteorologists qualified to market their services as independent consultants. So those services can be anything from providing specific forecasts for somebody's wedding or a football game or a community event, or it could be doing, for instance, meteorology studies going back and looking what happened on a certain day. And most consultants kind of fall into that second category. To be a CCM, meteorologists need to be recommended by 3 associates, go through a written examination and pass an oral examination before a national board of examiners. So it's kind of an arduous process. It's a good way to, it's good incentive to keep up on your meteorological knowledge. And the goal of this organization or this consultant CCM license is to spread the word about how to get accurate weather information. There's a lot of people out there that can go hang up inside and say I'm a meteorologist, that maybe they're the kids sitting in their mom's basement or something. So this is an effort to try to consolidate where you can go to find an expert. So since 1957, when this began, there have only been 800 meteorologists that have been awarded this certification. Right now, there are only 6 CCMs in North Carolina. One of those gentlemen that was on the first slide, TC Moore, he's this year's current national chair of the AMS board of CCM. So he's in charge of looking at the people that are applying and going to be awarded this. And I'm mentioning this to say that North Carolina is what has a great grouping of colleges with meteorology programs: NC State, UNCW, UNCG, Charlotte, and Asheville. So the meteorological field is pretty substantial here, and it's neat that there are people right in this geographic area that are involved at a national level in this organization. So forensic meteorology or consultant meteorology, what happens is we use meteorological and climatological data to reconstruct weather events for very specific locations, for individual houses and businesses. This is typically done in support of legal cases and related investigations where weather may have been a factor. And then we use weather from local observations, radar satellite images, and reports of damages caused by events. So during a case, when a meteorologist is given a case, the first thing that happens is you get a call, and they're typically from somebody in the law field, and that has an insurance claim case. You talk to the client on the phone and see if it's something that you can help with. And there's a lot of ethical things in this field. You never want to say that you can do more than you're capable of, or the science is more advanced than it is, because we all know that sometimes the weather models are wrong. So see if we can help out, then we acquire the data, prepare a written report. Sometimes not, that's an important thing you don't want to put anything in writing until you talk to your client and see if they would like to proceed with their written report. Evaluate other reports and sometimes deliver expert testimony in court. So I'm going to go through a few different cases that Atlantic States Weather has done. The first I'm going to really focus on is litigation. So criminal and civil cases, there are investigations, insurance companies, and environmental impact studies that forensic meteorologists conduct. So civil cases, it can be anything from personal injury, property damage, that's probably in insurance disputes, that's probably the highest one. Motor vehicle accidents, aviation accidents. My husband, Paul Suffern, he is actually a forensic meteorologist with the federal government. He's spoken a few times to us. And so we do the same work. Our dinner conversations are really boring to anybody that's not a meteorologist. Maritime losses and construction delays. Construction delays, those can be really big money losses for multiple entities involved. So types of weather events investigated is just a small list of them. Hail is a big one, flooding is a big one, high winds. We work a lot of hurricane cases. In the case of hurricanes and tropical systems, the big deal there is determining if winds cause the damage first, or if storm surge cause the damage first. So you're having to look at rising water, flooding versus wind, and really good time with that. A lot of slips and falls, those are mostly up north, but we do have some here. And then low visibilities are another thing that can contribute to motor vehicle accidents. So personal injury. I'm going to start talking about a case in South Carolina that happened across a railroad. So trees were blown across a railroad due to a severe thunderstorm. This was back in 2002. And I think there was some disagreement on a railroad worker who had been working and driving alongside of the train, and was the thunderstorm the cause of the accident. And one of the things I'm finding working in this field, it's very important to understand each client's rules on when, like, a steps should be cleared from snow, or when trees are checked or a railroad is checked. So there was disagreement about the timing of the storm and the timing of the track covered by the tree. So this is an example. This is a base radar reflectivity image from a weather radar. Who all has seen an image like this? Yeah, right. So this storm was moving from the south or from the southwest to the northeast. The little red dot in the middle is the area where the trees fell over the road. So moving forward, you see that that's line of storms blew right over it, and those little X's are what are called local storm reports. And local storm reports are sent to the National Weather Service by just regular citizens. So if you see something, some damage, say this afternoon from the wind advisory, you can call up the Weather Service office, you can send them an email, tag them on X or Facebook, and then put a picture, and then your report will be logged and available for future research into that event. So we spend a lot of time going in and looking at these local storm reports and matching them to location, making sure that they make sense. And then that helps corroborate what we're seeing in the weather data. So in that previous case, it was able to be proven the timing of the storm over the track, and then the timing of the local storm reports when that has happened, and help narrow that down, that window down in that case. So this one is landing sun. This has to do with fog and visibility. And what happened was a tractor trailer driver pulled off to the side of the road, this tractor trailer broke down, and he was stalled in the shadows, couldn't move it. So walked away until the next morning. Next morning, guy comes flying around the corner, didn't see it, and just headlong slammed into the tractor trailer. So an accident reconstruction engineer went out, and the morning that they went out, it was foggy out, and said, oh, he should have seen that tractor trailer coming around. I mean, it's, you know, not that much of a blind turn. He should have seen that. Wrote that in his. So it gets sent to the judge. Everybody's looking through everything. Forensic meteorologist was called in and said, well, the weather conditions on the morning of the accident did not match what happened when the engineer went out to reconstruct it. There's actually, so what they did was look at this big graph, don't worry about it, that's showing observations from the time of the accident and then the time of the reconstruction, and it shows fog, time of the reconstruction. So in actuality, that's what it looked like. The forensic meteorologist went out there, he took a picture of what that turn looked like in the morning on a clear day, same time of year, and that's what the sun was. So it's very feasible that this person in the car came around to sling right into the tractor trailer. So those two photos did not match up, and then based on the testimony of the meteorologist, the engineer's report, he was not able to testify. And the judge said, yeah, the weather conditions were different. And then he ended up agreeing that the sun would have been much brighter, making it extremely hard to see the truck. So that's an interesting case where a meteorologist was able to, there wasn't really weather on, but we were able to say, no, there was not fog that morning, and kind of rebut a report from another report along that case. So property damage. Everybody, I think everywhere in the United States is hail. We don't get it, knock on wood, as bad as some places out west do, but we do get some large hail around here, and there are a lot of, we'll get cases that say, well, it was a thunderstorm with wind and with hail, so we need to decide which one caused the damage. One of the things with hail is deciding on how big it is, and there are a lot of different radar products that can give you an idea. But it's really important that we have good reports from that hail and the hail size. What you're seeing up on the screen is one of those radar products. It's called vertically integrated liquid water. And what it shows you is that big white spot is where the largest hail probably is located. And there's other things we can look at too. We like to look at a bunch of different products. And the red dot in there is where they had damage. So looking at this radar data and then tracking the storm to the east. And then there were some reports of baseball sized hail, and this was in Greer, South Carolina. That's where the radar was located, so not too far away from here. But again, combining this radar data with the reports, that's how we kind of validate and determine if hail was the cause in property damage. And then there's some examples of hail. Somebody had posted pictures of hailstones that they found. And the way, if you ever have a hailstorm, the way that meteorologists prefer it to be reported is in terms of point, like middle size hail is 0.88 inches, quarter size is 1 inch. And that 1 inch mark is really the divider on if it's damaging hail or not. So when you see that severe thunderstorm issued and hail is a part of that issuance, that means you're probably going to see 1 inch hail. And I mean, that's 1 inch hail is pretty damaging. So slip and fall. I said up north, those are most of them. We get most of those. I think this is the last one that. But we do have some here in North Carolina. So the big thing is, was ice present, was it not? So that helps looking at snowfall, rainfall, condition of the ground the night before. We look at data like this, just spreadsheets of data. Temperature was 28 and it had rain the night before, snow the night before, so there was ice present. And again, that's a case where it would be helpful to know if it's an apartment complex or something, when they're supposed to clean the steps, etc. So if you have a case or you're interested in figuring out more, or say your house gets hailed, damage, you think it was hail damage, you think it was from a storm on Tuesday or something, in April. If you call up somebody or talk to a meteorologist, what they're gonna need to know is the type of weather event that's helpful in figuring out, like, was it severe weather versus a snowstorm, dates, of course, as specific an address as you can get. Like, even if you can say it was at the front of the house, down the backs, or down the front steps. And that's important due to sun angle. There's some cool tools that we use, GIS tools, where you can model sun angle, and that has an implication on how much things melt during the day. And then also any engineers reports, if your case has made it that far, photos and accident reports. So that's about it. I hope I'm bridging all the tears, but I like talking about what I do. If you have any, this is TC Moore, he owns the company that I work for. He is really great at explaining things. If you want to talk more, I definitely recommend reaching out to him, and I love talking about things weather, so, yeah.
Any questions? I think, you're our first, Kevin, so let's go with that and move on.
Okay, Carrie, so two-part question. First, locally in Raleigh, who would you think does the best weather forecast? You know, is it a TV station weather, you know, is it national weather? So, and if I'm traveling someplace and I want to look at the forecast, which source would you go to first?
Yeah, great questions. I'm gonna say because I'm a little biased, National Weather Service is probably the best. WRAL, National Weather Service, but they all do a really great job. And it's a pretty close-knit community, and those that stay in meteorology, tend to really be nerdy about the science and want to see the science, you know, better or be better. It's great English. So I would go National Weather Service, and then specifically when you're traveling, if you go to weather.gov, even on your cell phone, do that and just zoom into where you're traveling, click on your county, and then it'll give you a point forecast. And in that will be all the warnings, advisories, watches. So, yeah. Yes, Randy.
Yeah, so I saw the meteorologist one about this would be like softball, PSA.
Okay.
How accurate is weather around the park?
So in the long term, they're pretty accurate. So all their model data. Basically, the nice thing about a weather service, broadcast meteorologist, a company that provides forecasts for specific locations, is they actually have a human looking at it. Now, your app on the phone is running a bunch of computer simulations, and they're not going to have that micro scale knowledge of your specific area. However, it has been shown, and this is getting shorter and shorter, from about days 3 on, the weather models outperform the meteorologists. It's been working up to about 48 hours now, 48 hours on, and I imagine that's probably going to get closer and closer. The near term, what's going on right now, what's going to happen in the next hour, that's where we're going to really want to be focusing on your local knowledge. So does that help? Does that match what the person said?
Well, I'm actually way more negative.
Oh, okay.
Please don't rely on that, on the thing to be in that. Yeah, talk about the greater rigor. Not happening on the local labs.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, definitely make me pause, right? Very confident.
Yeah, I would, if you're planning something that's very important that it's not gonna rain on you over the weekend, I would look at weather service, weather.gov. But I mean, your weather app's gonna give you a general idea, looking out for it. We don't really trust their hourly data. Look at it in 6-hour increments. That's what I would advise. I mean, their hourly breakdown on day 7 is not gonna be that accurate. Right, John?
Yes, so is it me trying to kind of look at the apps, it's like 60%.
Yeah.
Is it true that it's a 60% chance of rain, but that 60% of it not being to will experience rain, or what is that percentage?
That is an awesome question. I'm so glad that you asked that. That's called probability of precipitation or prompt forecast. And what that means is that 60%, you have a 60% chance of rain at any one time at the exact location where you're at. Yeah, so if it was countywide, it would be 60% all across the county at any one time. So a little bit more than 50% that you're gonna see. Right. I'm gonna pick us off. Yes.
Is a farmer's almanac fact-based or based, or is it,
It's statistically based. I don't know how accurate. I don't think it's very accurate. It's fun to look at. Yeah, it's really based on solar cycles and, your, 10-year, 20-year, climate indices. Right, Eric?
Couple of questions. First, there's some kind of system, like getting South Carolina, right? About that is the first thing. And then the second one is, you have a gentleman that came and talked to us earlier, about, when he said that there's the hurricane season, and I understand it hasn't been as busy so far as they could make the past on the Thursday.
Yeah, so the system of the Georgia, South Carolina is actually what we're getting rain from today. That's the one you're referring to, right? Yeah, so that's currently over in the South Fort Wilmington area, and then that's just gonna track to the northwest over us. And then just peter out. You could get some breezy winds probably this evening. And then the, Jonathan Blakes was the gentleman from the Weather Service. And the reason we haven't had as strong of a hurricane season as was predicted was the temperatures off the west coast of Africa are not as warm as usual. And even heard it referred to as an Atlantic Nina, Atlantic La Nina, which I haven't heard before. The Gulf is still very warm, and then kind of the western Atlantic as well. But you need those waves around Africa. To answer Bert's question, he's been patient. Yeah, I'm sorry.
probably a stupid question, but the local broadcasters seem to be in love with the European model, and I was hoping you could talk about the European model vis-a-vis the American model.
The American model, the GFS or global forecasting system, is so. Short answer is European model has had a lot more research done into it. You actually have to pay for that product. So anybody that wants to use their output model, you have to pay for it. In America, anything generated by the federal government is free for all of us to use. Just so for funding purposes, that's why the Europeans have so much more research into it. And that's why in general it tends to do a better job.
Thank you.
Carrie does do the forecast in the bulletin every week. And I'm not going to give you a copy because you have a lot of closed off. I will tell one quick story. Kevin reminded me of it. I was traveling several years ago in Orlando, Florida, with 3 other guys in a car, rented a car, going from one plant to another, and we got caught in this incredible rainstorm. It was just pouring down. We could barely see anything ahead of us in the car. And we drove through that for several minutes, and we really kind of get worried. So I said, I think I can think of something. So I picked up myself and called Carrie, who was from Juneau, Alaska, 4,000 miles away. And I said, hey, we're in mile marker such and such on this highway. When does the rain end? And she said, how fast are you going? I said, about 30 miles an hour. She did some calculations. She said, it'll stop at 2.5 minutes at that same speed. I told the guys 2.5 minutes later, it cleared the sunshine.
It's great having them right away.
All that is basic math and cool technology.
Thank you, Carrie, very much. Next year. Of the things we think, say, and do, is it true? Is it fair? We are adjourned.
And then we can break this all down. This belongs to that.